Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Conscious Conversation. I'm your host, Juno. This is sponsored by the House of H. And today on Conscious Conversations, we have a super special guest who I love oh so much, my dear friend, Dillon Diaz. Please introduce yourself, Dillon. Say hello.
Hello, everybody. I am Dylan, and I am so happy to be here with you, Juno. This is going to be so much fun because we always have fun.
Yeah. And it's great because I feel like whenever we get to sit down, because we don't really get to have talks that often because we're on different time zones and stuff,
And
but
I'm a
it
texter.
yeah, it's always such like a brain dump and it's a lot of fun chatting with you. So, um, please introduce yourself, let everyone know who you are and stuff like that, and then we'll get into the interview portion.
I am Dylan Diaz. I'm just a guy on a
He's
journey, living life, doing my
he's
thing.
he's just a guy, not yet a woman.
Um, I've done some adult work. I've done some facilitating and workshops, and I'm just a human being on a journey to get to know myself better and help people get to know themselves better, or at least just enjoy the time that they have here on Earth with the people around them.
In a very early incarnation of your career, weren't you an accountant or something at one point?
Oh God, I've done so many different things. Yes, accounting was one of the things I
Yeah.
did, as
I
well
feel
as
like I remember you
personal
telling me that
training.
once and being like, I do not see that for you at all. And if you were my accountant,
Neither
I
did
would
I.
be so confused.
Neither did I. It was one of those things. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I needed an income. So there, I saw that opportunity and said, okay, there goes my income.
Yeah, such is the way. We love that. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you the question that I ask everyone to open up conversation, which is as a as a person on the spiritual path, right? Early on in life, what was that system like for you, whether it was like traditionally religious or more spiritual in nature, and how did that affect you growing up?
I came from a Catholic background. I went to Catholic school for the first 3 years of my education. And then I got into a fight with a nun, and my mom put me in public school when I thought that was a really great idea. However, I was a little bit too, at that point, I was already ruined. I was a little bit too polite and proper for public school.
Hmm.
And I had had problems there too, but I didn't have any fights with any more nuns. Um,
Well, I wouldn't think so, not in public school.
no, they weren't there. They weren't there. How did that affect me? I never felt like I identified with that um, way of thinking about religion. It was just something that was passed on to me. That was what my family believed, and so I guess that's what I was supposed to believe. But it took time and experience for me to grow and figure out what was spiritual to me. Things that felt right and resonated with me. And it's been, like everything else, it's just been a long process of trial and error and learning about myself and exploring the world and seeing how I fit into it. And yeah. But I
So,
definitely did not feel like a Catholic. In
yeah.
fact, I felt like, gosh, some of the things that I am conflict with Catholicism. So where does this leave me? You know?
So early in life, having those very clear feelings of like, I don't feel like this. And as a matter of fact, there are things in my person that outwardly conflict with this. Like, were you always so self-actualized that you were just comfortable with that and comfortable knowing and expressing that? Or was there an area that was maybe an area of struggle for you or something you had to grow through to be able to articulate that yourself? Or what was that like?
This is not my first time here. I am an old soul, and while I may not have had the vocabulary or the dial or the intellect to understand that as a child, deep down I understood it, and
Hmm.
I think I was just waiting for my opportunity or just waiting to figure it all out. Like I knew that there was another way, that this wasn't my way. And I didn't necessarily have to rebel against it. I just remained calm and quiet and waited for the right time and the right information to come along, you know?
So you've always had this temperament then, this kind
Yeah,
of like vibey, calm temperament.
it's me. It's me. It's always been in there. There's pictures. I've seen pictures of myself. We don't have a lot of pictures from my childhood because my mom had a, she was had a fire, and so we lost a lot of our, old things. But
Mm.
there's this one picture I still I see it I very vividly in my head, and I'm sitting in a little plastic chair. You know those little plastic kid chairs?
Yeah, yeah, like the red ones.
Yeah, and they come in blue. They come in all the primary colors.
Yeah.
It's like down there, really short. And I'm sitting there and I'm all dressed up. I've got on a pair of navy blue slacks, a light blue short sleeve button up shirt. It was the 1970s, so the first three buttons were open. And I had a
Fashion
blue,
icon even then.
even then, and like a little blue like vest. I don't know. It was like, it made me think of the Navy or maybe like a flight attendant or something. Anyway, I'm sitting there and I've got a slipper. Oh, I had a thing for shoes. So I had one of my slippers and I'm holding my mother's slipper and I'm looking at this slipper and pondering and what like just there was just I was not looking at the slipper. I was looking beyond the slipper. And it was very like and it just made encapsulized who I am. Like just kind of in my own world.
I love imagining this version of you, this like little baby, baby Dylan, just slipper in hands, dressed like a flight
Yeah.
attendant. It's
having
wonderful.
my own having my own experience, with my own going through my own journey. I think what I did experience, I know this is really long, is a lot of angst because I knew that there was so much more that I needed to figure out. And I was in a hurry to get there. I wanted to get there. Like I knew this wasn't it for me. And I wanted to hurry up and understand. I wanted to have the knowledge. I wanted
You're
to
like, can
be
we fast forward past this part?
mature. Yes, I wanted to be evolved and enlightened because I knew this was not it. There was more. I wanted the more.
Okay, so you're how old feeling this feeling of I desire enlightenment, I want more. What age is that realization happening?
For as long as I can remember being able to think, for as long as I had, reflective thought about myself. I mean, that picture, I was probably 4. And so I would say somewhere between 4 and 8, I knew that I was better than everything else that was going on around me.
I love that. So so you said you were 4 in like the 70s. So that means you were a teen in like the 80s, right? Okay. So were you aware of your queerness in the 80s?
Yes. I think I've always been aware. I've always had an attraction to people that looked like me, physically, that had the same parts as I do. Um, I didn't accept that immediately, but I knew that I had an attraction for that. At first, I wasn't sure if I was attracted to guys or if I wanted to be like those particular guys. Like if a guy had
Mm-hmm.
like pretty hair, we were just talking about hair. If he had really nice hair, if he had like a big swoop and it hung down the side of his face, I wasn't sure if I was attracted to him or if I wanted his hair. Or if I saw a guy who was like had a really nice body, he was muscular and athletic, um, and I wasn't sure if I was attracted to that or if I wanted to be that.
Yeah.
Eventually, I realized the difference. And I was like, yeah, well, actually, I want both. I want that, but I also want to touch that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're like, wait, two things can be true at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. I know for me early on there was that confusion, but around women, where I was like, do I love these women or do I want to be these women? And I
Mhm.
think more often than not, it was that I wanted to embody that energy in some capacity. And
Yeah.
that was my journey with that. But so my question is, if you are going through awareness around queerness and you're alive in the 80s, w were you at all aware of like the AIDS crisis going on, and did that affect you in any way? Like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, what was your handling of that?
I wasn't quite aware of the AIDS crisis, but I was very aware of the stigma surrounding gay men, and the stereotypes surrounding gay men. And I, was deathly afraid of it. I didn't want that for me. I didn't want people to talk about me that way. I didn't want people to think of me that way. And then when I saw the stereotypical images of what a gay man was, it's like, I don't really think that's who I am. I don't want to be that way, you
Yeah.
know? And so it was confused. It was like there was a lot of denial and repression, trying to figure out until I figured out that I could be gay without being the stereotype of what gay was.
So your denial and repression didn't even have to do with your relationship to religion or spirituality. Your denial and repression had to do with your relationship to the public perception of queerness.
I suppose so. Yeah.
That's interesting. Um, so even though you said you grew up in a Catholic environment knowing you weren't Catholic, did you experience any um, dissonance or internal discord around that environment and your expression of being queer?
I don't know if I was at that time able to express my queerness. I wasn't aware of what my queerness was and how it looked and how it would be expressed to the world. I kind of feel like I was just biding my time. Like I knew that, you know, I, something more was coming, and that right now I just needed to get through this. Be quiet and kind of like move through it until the time came where I didn't have to anymore.
I love that level of awareness because let me tell you what, that was not me. That was not me at all. I thought that like grow because I grew up in a very Roman Catholic environment. My uncle was a priest, all this stuff, and I grew up around priests and like people in that. So I just assumed, for the most part, until I was in about fourth or fifth grade, that everyone was Catholic, and that was like this was the only thing there was. And then it wasn't until I had my family moved to a different town in New Jersey, um, where I met people that were Jewish, and I was like, "What's that?" kind of thing. What's
Hmm.
that's different.
Hmm.
What's that? And and that kind of opened the box for me because I was in religious school or Catholic school until fourth grade, and then when we moved to a different neighborhood, that's when I changed schools and I said like I want to go to public school. I don't want to go to Catholic school anymore.
Hmm.
Um, but I think early on because I very much I grew up in a family that was very tribe-like and very like all hands on deck, everyone all the time. There's actually this story of when I was little, when I graduated from kindergarten or whatever, all my aunts and uncles and cousins showed up and I said like I introduced my teacher to them as like these are my parents, like like all 20 of them, like all of my and I think I was raised in an environment where my own personness, although it was supported in a way from the people that were raising me, it was very much that I identified with as a part of the unit for a really long time and not necessarily like individual until like later in life. Like I was in my 20s and then I started to like separate myself from the concept of this thing.
Yeah.
But so I think because early in life that was my experience, I never even really questioned if what I was brought up to believe was something that I actually believed. It just felt like something I was kind of required to do for a really long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
But wasn't
So,
it was it liberating when you realized that you weren't required to do that and that you could create your own belief system and your own path and your own, way of living?
oh, yeah. I mean, it was exciting and liberating, but also it was something that kind of had to be done in a way that was secret at first, I
Yeah.
felt.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's because early on in my family being Italian and Cuban, the Italian side of my family had lots of like traditions that were witchy, but also were not acknowledged as witchy at all. Like
yeah.
things with like pendulums being able to tell like, oh, I just knocked into my microphone. Pendulums being able to tell like, oh, are you gonna have a boy or a girl? like
Oh,
based on
wow.
how the thread would go, or like if you were feeling sick but you didn't have like a sickness and you were like hexed or cursed, there would be these prayers that would be said and like things would happen. And so all of this stuff I was raised around was very witchy. And I was like, but that's witchcraft. And my family was like, no, no, that's tradition. And so there was this confusion in me around like, well, I guess there's maybe special types of Catholics that do this stuff. I don't know. And and then thank God for the 90s and the witchy movies that happened because like The Craft came out and Practical Magic came out and all these like great films that presented witchcraft in a way that was not necessarily movie magic, right? It wasn't like the Avengers with Scarlet Witch. It was like you could just do this and this could be your life and it could be kind of the way you approach spirituality. And I was like, ah, that's interesting. And one year, I think I was 14, my cousin got me the book Teen Witch by Silver Ravenwolf. And it was great. And it kind of showed me like spirituality in a way that was more earth-based. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then I kind of had to put it down because my uncle, like I said, he's a priest, and my mom was like, you have to get confirmed. And I was like, I don't want to get confirmed. And they were like, do you want a party? And I was like, well, yeah. And they were like, so you have to get confirmed. And I was like, okay. So I kind of put it down for a little bit. And then when I ended up working at Whole Foods, I met somebody, I met several people, and they were like, oh, I'm a witch, or we're witches. And I was like, oh, that's right, that's a thing. I completely forgot about that as an option. So then at like 20, I really dove in deep because by 2021, I was very much kind of through with a lot of the narrative and stories I had been given as a child. Um, I felt very trapped by them. So by the time I was really diving into it in a real way, uh, it was like in my teens when I was before confirmation, I felt like I had to hide it. But as an adult, it was more like an act of rebellion and revolution. And I was like, I'm going to figure out what I believe.
Yes.
And so it was a little bit of a reclamation.
I remember seeing or hearing of people, as a teenager talking about being a witch or Wiccans and stuff, all these things. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't quite get it, but I wasn't going to challenge them. I was like, okay, you go ahead and be whatever you want to be. I don't know what that is, but that's what you are. Okay, great.
You said work. Sounds good.
Yes, live your life, live your best life. And then, with more exposure and understanding exactly what that meant. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. That's cool. I had when I moved to Vegas, and this was just in 2019, so I was fully grown, very mature, very mature. Um, I
So
made
grown.
right completely. I made some new friends out here, and um, he what? Let me see. Was it more than at least one of them, Brian, I can say his name, Brian, had um, witchy tendencies,
Okay.
for lack of a better way to say it. And he would kind of like lead the group. He was kind of like the coven lead, the unofficial coven leader. Okay.
By the way, I don't know if you noticed what just happened. You said he was the unofficial coven leader, and then my light went on.
I saw, I,
Completely.
I saw a flash. I don't
Yeah.
know what that was about, but we would do these things together. Like we would go to the rocks, we would go to stores and pick out stones. We did this project all together once. We created money candles. And we did these little projects together where it was just fun. Really, we were just having a good time. But
Yeah.
really, we were basically practicing witchcraft or experimenting with witchcraft. And I still have my money candle up there, and I always look at it like, oh, remember that time.
Wait, you
'Cause
have it and you still haven't burned it?
are you supposed to burn it? I thought you just
Yeah.
kept it.
No.
Have I
You light
burned
it
it?
and that ignites like the magic that moves the spell forward.
I, I don't know if I did. We did burn something. Hold on, we're gonna go for a field trip. I'm
You
going to grab
have
it.
you have a spell that's like 20 years old now. I'm just kidding. It would be like 7 years old now, but still.
Yes. Let me see.
Your apartment is so cute.
Oh, it's burnt. We
Or your
used it.
home. Oh, good.
Thank you.
I'm a
Yes.
creep. I'm like looking at the environment as you're moving.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Wait, can you see?
Love.
And then let me get back to the table. And then I just didn't. Okay, if you look down here, you can see. Let me see if you can see into the bottle. Can you see in there
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the little stones and herbs and things?
I love that.
Oh my gosh, yes. So yes, I've experimented. I remember just not blindly, but like blindly accepting it when I first learned about it. I was like, yeah, you can be what you want. I'm happy for you.
So what does your practice look like now in terms of spirituality and how has, because it sounds like you also weren't extremely in it with Catholicism. Like your parents didn't force that on you or force you to believe it in any capacity. Or if they tried to, you didn't succumb to it. And so it seems like finding a path for yourself was relatively easy. So what did that look like in terms of an integration?
Um, I guess no. Okay, so I have been confirmed. I did go through First Communion. And is that the last thing I did? I don't remember. What's
It's
next?
con
Whatever.
it's confession, communion, confirmation, and then there's other things like getting married and getting
Um,
and then if you become like a priest, that's one of the sacraments. But the ones that people usually do are birth. Oh, that's right. What's that called? Like christening,
Baptism.
like when baptism,
Hmm.
confession, communion, and confirmation. Confirmation
Okay.
is supposed to be your confirmation of the faith, and that's why I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And
Okay, I got them confused. Okay, so I was baptized, and I think I did my first communion, and that's it. And
Mm,
it wasn't necessarily like pushed on me. I was always aware, like, the Bible was always present in our house. We were always told to pray. Um, there was rosaries around, statues. Both of my grandmothers had, different religious statues around. And so that stuff was present, but it wasn't necessarily forced on me. I was
mm.
kind of, and I was just able to let the people who believed, let them believe without challenging them. I kind of was just like, if this is what I was always comfortable with it in the terms of like, if this is what they need to survive, if this is what they need to feel happy, then who
So
am
be
I
it.
to not let them have it?
Yeah.
Who am I to challenge this? Let them have it. My belief system may be different. I don't know what it is yet, but I don't have to challenge them. They can enjoy themselves. Just do you. And then for me, I almost feel like I have just this inner spirituality, and it still feels that way today, where I'm just learning as I grow, learning through experience, learning through exposure. I meet people. I met you. And whenever I meet people, I learn more. And so I'm in the religion of learning. That's my religion, just learning.
I love I love
Yeah.
that so much. I think for me, growing up, like having to do communion and confession and confirmation and all that stuff, I thought it was interesting that confession was you had to tell the priest your sins, basically, right? And I don't know, I don't think all versions of Catholicism do that. I might be wrong, but I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments. Um, I when I was doing confession, I remember being like, I was a really well-behaved kid. I was like, I don't really have anything to say to the priest that I did wrong. And they were like, just make something up. And I was like, so you want me to lie to the priest? I'm confused by this. Like that did not make sense in my brain, but that's what I was told to do. So I always thought that was strange. Yeah, I think that I love your approach of being like my religion is knowledge. My religion is questing for knowledge.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you feel grounds you today? It doesn't need to be a spiritual practice. Like for some people, the thing that grounds the most is like working out or breath work or deep thought or meditation or whatever. Is what helps Dylan be grounded in his Dylanness?
Definitely. and I don't even know if I guess breath work, but I don't acknowledge it as breath work necessarily. I mean, I guess that's what it is. You know, if I feel like I'm starting to, or it's not even a conscious decision, like when things around me start to get chaotic or out of control, um, and I don't want to get swept away, I kind of just stop, get quiet, speak, think, and move slower, and breathe.
You're a
And so,
Taurus, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And
So
so I
like,
think that's
okay.
breath work, but I don't like, to me, that's just, it's just a norm. It's just so, it's
Do
an
you feel
unconscious
like
thing.
do you feel like it would be more fair to call it mindful breathing instead of breath work?
I guess mindful breathing, if it would fit more into mindful breathing. Also, structure and routine, I do really well with a certain amount of that. Like right now, I count my macros. I go to the gym. I count my steps daily. You know, like I'm on this fitness journey, this weight loss journey, and so I figured out certain things to do to help me reach my goals. And doing those things, focusing on those things daily helps me feel grounded, helps me feel like, okay, I'm doing the right things. I am on the path. I am on my way. And it helps, makes me feel calm and secure that I'm moving towards my goal. And I feel like,
So you just said that you're on a weight loss journey.
yes.
Last time I saw you, you were more bulked. So that's why I was, you definitely look visually thinner than last I saw you.
Thank you.
And
Yes. Thank you.
I didn't want to mention anything because I'm never sure where people are with their bodies. So I wait for them to say something that like cues me. So that's exciting. What inspired that?
I just didn't like the way that I looked anymore. I moved away from, what I looked like before, and I wanted to I just wanted to be thinner. Just wanted to be thinner again. And
Hmm.
so I started taking, action to get myself back there.
Well, I know that well, when I met you also, let's just clarify, like you were never chubby. You were like you like possessed the body of an Adonis, Dylan, let's be
Oh,
real.
well, thank you. Thank you. I don't know if I was at my heaviest then. I think maybe after we had met, I continued to grow, and eventually got to a body image that I didn't identify with, and I felt like I wanted to change it.
I love that. I love
Mhm.
that so much. And yeah, when I met you, you were very super fit. So like I saw you from super fit, now you're like very thin. So I'm like, oh, this is a fun transformation.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is an interesting thing, I think. A lot of people that work out or work out with regularity find a form of, I don't want to say spirituality through working out, but definitely find a way of emotionally releasing themselves in environments like that, or maybe a better word would be like there's talk about a runner's high, right? Like you can get to this point where you're just kind of like in a transcendental state through movement. So is that something that you experience while working out ever?
For sure. I also experienced another thing. Okay, so I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a meditational state as well. Because when I'm doing it, for me, it's very personal. Sometimes have music on. I don't. Sometimes I don't have music on. But I don't really interact too much. Like I respect everyone's space. I'll say just greetings, but I don't really interact. I kind of keep to myself, and it's my time to like just. And I'm counting, and pushing myself harder, and I'm like thinking about the form, and I'm just like, it's just a conversation that I'm having with myself through the entire workout. And so
Hmm.
I can go through it, and like by the end of it, I'm like, how did I get over here? Because I'm so like
In the zone.
in the zone, in myself, that I just go on automatic, doing all of the things that I need to do. Um, and then the other thing that you were talking about does happen. I think it's called an endorphin rush or something about endorphins. When I'm doing cardio, after I've been doing cardio for a while, I get to a certain point where it's not a struggle. It doesn't hurt. It feels amazing. And if you give into it, it kind of multiplies. The feeling gets stronger. So it doesn't happen every time, but I strive to get to that place where I can feel like, oh my God, this is great. I'm having so much fun. And then I really let myself go and say, yeah, this is the best.
I love that. I've never had the experience that you're describing with working out. However, until just recently, I think I was not super in my body, which sounds wild to say as a person that's circled the sun 42 times, that I've only just recently begun to inhabit my body. But I think that for so long, I felt very detached from kind of the human experience because I didn't feel fully safe and I didn't know that even for a very long time. And I think more and more I've been drawn to the idea of working out lately because I think now I'm finally in a place where I'm like, oh, I desire for my body to feel that way. I desire to lose myself in that capacity. And so I'm intrigued. I'm very
Mhm.
intrigued to make movement more a part of my spiritual practice.
Yeah. Like anything else, it's one of those things. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and the deeper you can go into the moments yourself and the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
For someone who what did your body journey start like? Because I know that when I think you showed me pictures of when you were younger, when we first met,
Hmm.
and you were very thin then.
Yes.
And then when I met you, like I said, you looked like a Greek god when you had your shirt off. You were like so built. So you've gone from very thin to very muscular, and now you're like leaning out again. So someone who is interested in moving and sculpting their body, I'm not asking you to give somebody a routine or anything like that, but like, how would you tell somebody to know that they are on the right path by like, I'm not saying what should it feel like in your body, but kind of if someone's new to body awareness, how do they know the difference between getting to a point of depth and pushing themselves too far, do you think? What's a good indicator for that?
It should never hurt. It may be difficult, it may be challenging. You may sweat, you may be out of breath. But if you're in pain, you need to stop. Um, and
During, not after, because after, from what I understand, pain is a thing that happens.
pain is the thing that happens, and sometimes it's that's kind of how you know that you actually did something, is if there's a little pain, if there's a little stiffness or tightness or swelling, or I mean not swelling, but I mean like if you feel tight,
Yeah.
then you know you've done something. um so yeah, but during, if you're in pain during, you need to stop because you can injure yourself. um but it's one of those things where consistency wins. So the
Mm.
more you do it, the more you show up for yourself, the better it feels. The deeper your connection to your body becomes. It's a muscle you have to exercise. It's like it's not just a physical muscle, it's a mental muscle, an emotional muscle, and it's the more you do it, the more you get in contact with all of the elements that come together to create this experience for yourself.
I think as a queer person who did not have really well-defined boundaries until recently, I would not have been able to make the distinction of this pain is okay or this discomfort is okay and this pain is bad. And so I think, thank you for articulating that. But queer people in general, we're told in many cases to like shrink to fit the container that wasn't made for us or to somehow modify behavior to be more digestible or like less extra. And I
Mhm.
think growing up, I've always been the extra one. And I think as a result, at least in my family, I've been the extra one in many cases. Um, so I think in many ways, I I lost the concept of boundaries because there was a lot of, like I said, raised in this kind of like tribe mentality, but then also was in order to differentiate myself, I had to like take my differentness and just be the most of it possible. And so I think boundaries until recently were kind of a lost thing. Like I didn't understand them fully.
Yeah, yeah.
It sounds like you've had a good grasp on that though since you were younger, the concept of boundaries.
I guess in a way I have. It was I had in a way it felt like living a double life. I had my imaginary life or my fantasy life of what I was working towards, and then I had the reality that I was in. And I didn't necessarily fight against the reality that I was in. I was just kind of biding my time and waiting for it to
You were like,
change.
my current situation is none of my business.
Right. This is I don't know how to change this right now. So I'm just gonna get through the day. And then when I figure out how to change this, I will.
I love that. I love that as a strategy.
Yeah. But don't I never felt imposed upon. I didn't feel a need to conform. But also I didn't feel a need to project. Like I said, I had this fantasy life. I could just go inside. I would just go inside and have the best time.
Were you weren't an only child though, were you?
No, I have a younger brother. He's 5 years younger than I am.
Okay. And this internal life that you created, was this always the case? Or I guess maybe you don't have a ton of memories before his existence.
I recall being disappointed. I was not happy about this extra person in the space.
Your mom's like, you're gonna have a little brother. You're like, why? Are
I
you
don't.
sure?
Right. I think by then I had created my environment, and now making room for another person in my environment was a hardship.
You're like, must we?
Do I have to? Um, but yeah, for as long as I can remember, there was this really exciting inner life, this world where, everything was beautiful and fun and expensive.
And now you live that.
Well, I wish, but
Well, you're not that far off. I don't think at least. But that's exciting. Okay, great. So what what is in the works for Dylan, both spiritually and I guess futuristically? What is it that you see yourself growing towards right now?
I like to, even when we were talking about this, when you invited me to be part of this podcast, I was intrigued, but I was like, I'm not going to give it too much thought. I'm just going to wait until the day of, and then as the conversation flows, that's what will come out. And it's
Yeah,
usually
you were
the
one of the easiest people to get on this, by the way. Some of the other
yeah.
people, they're like, "Do you have questions for me to see in advance?" I'm like, "It's literally not that at all. It's not that serious."
No, well, I don't necessarily want that anymore. Like I feel like for me to be, I need the spontaneity. It's more truthful if I don't think about it. If I think about it, now I'm trying to make it sound as good as I possibly can. Um,
Taurus.
but I would rather, right, I would rather I would rather it just be spontaneous. And I feel like that's the most authentic and the most real is when it just comes out without me really thinking too much about it. What was the question that I'm supposed to answer now? I forgot what you said.
No, this is great. It was like the future version of
Oh,
yourself. Like
future version.
what are you growing towards right now? I guess both professionally, personally, spiritually, like kind of I think that we're in a really interesting time in history right now
Uh,
where um, the socio-political environment and the day-to-day people, there seems to be such a great divide in terms of what the people seem to want and what's being presented to us. So I think the fact that we're in this kind of historic moment, I'm very interested to know where queer people are desiring to go energetically, physically, spiritually, all of that stuff. Because I think that like, yes, it's important to be in the now and to be as present in the now as possible, get your things done. But also, like, until recently, within the last, I'd say 6 months or so, I really started to heavily consider moving out of the country. And that was never something I thought I would do. So, um, like I'm in the process of getting paperwork filed to possibly move to Portugal this summer. So I think that's very exciting. So like I guess where do you see the future of Dylan Diaz going, and whether that be like professionally, physically, spiritually, all of them. Just
yeah.
like speak on that.
I'm kind of seeing this in two different ways. So I'm going to speak to one, and then I'll go and speak to the other part of it. Um, Again, for me right now, it kind of feels like reminiscent of my childhood. What's going on in the world, what's going on in our country is not representative of who I am and how I want to live. And I actually find it very disappointing and frustrating. Um, so, and there was a certain amount of panic. There was definitely panic at the beginning of this administration. But then I remembered my childhood techniques. I'm going back inside. I'm inside. My world is beautiful. I am in here and it is beautiful. Whatever happens out there, I mean, I'm aware of what's going on out there, um, but I'm trying not to let it impact my day-to-day life. Um, and sometimes that's challenging, but I'm just going to do the best that I possibly can. I'm surrounding myself with love and light, and that's what I'm focusing in right now is me and my loved ones and my space and my routine and the things that I want to do to impact the world around me, and trying not to let the outside world influence or impact me too much.
Mm.
It's hard. It's really hard right now, harder than it's ever been. But that's my plan, and it's not new to me. This is it's. I almost had to be reminded, like this is what you used to do when you were a kid. It's you just get through, go inside, and get through it. So that's in terms of the greater world and what's going on and how I'm coping with it. That's how I'm coping with it. And in terms of what I see for myself, I've prided myself on not having a plan. I remember being in high school, they said, you need to come up with a 5-year plan. You need to know what you're doing with your life.
Which
I've
so
never
I think
known.
that's
I've
ridiculous to
never
ask a
known.
child.
And I always felt so inadequate and so much guilt about it because I was like, well, I don't know. And I also feel like I didn't feel like I was like, well, screw you. I'm not going to do that. Like that was maybe the rebellious part of me. I was like, well, no, I'm not going to come up with a 5-year plan. And to be honest with you, things that have happened to me are so much more incredible than anything I could ever have planned for myself or imagined. Like the
Yeah.
opportunities that I've received, the places that I've gone, the people that I've met, like the life that I live, I could never have planned or imagined something like that. And so at this point, I'm like, no, I'm not planning. I'm just going to be an open vessel. I'm going to just be open to the possibilities of what could happen. And yeah, I'm going to work on myself. And yes, I'm going to, do my research and enlighten myself and, surround myself with like-minded people who are also out traveling and learning and growing. And, but in terms of a plan, this is what I want to do. I don't know. When I know, you'll know. You'll see it.
Well, maybe I should rephrase it then, because like not maybe not a plan, but
hmm
do you have any goals? Like anything that you're working towards? Like I want to accomplish X.
Well, I took some acting classes. I've been taking acting classes for the past few years, and I'm really enjoying it. but I'm scared to kind of audition and perform for people who are not inside of me. So I think this year I would like to break past that fear and start sharing it outwardly, letting people see, letting, so yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm going with that. Like I've been gathering information, learning my techniques, learning, you know, all sorts of things, all the sorts of things that you need to know as the person who wants to tell a story through expression. And now I need to feel confident in what I've learned and just share it.
I love that. And so okay, you're pursuing acting more fully now. What is if you could pick a dream role, it doesn't have to be a male role, it could be a female role, it could be anything. What is your like, this is my cherry on the cake. I've made it, I feel complete. Maybe not the Oscar, but like, what is the role that is like, I would do anything to play this?
Oh, well, that's a tough question. Um, I want to play, I want to, any character or a story that has depth and emotion. I want to deal with stuff. Like I want to scream and cry. I want to express rage, but I also want to express what happens once you move past that rage, the empowerment from that. I'm not really a comedian. I wouldn't see myself as a comedian. I definitely see myself as more of like a drama sort of actor. Um, I'm also really interested in audiobooks. I want to be the voice that you hear reading audiobooks.
I mean, you can do that now. That's something very doable for you. You have a lovely voice.
I Thank you. Thank you. I think the main thing is that there's a certain investments that you need to make. There's equipment that you need, and I don't have all of that equipment. So I think once I have that equipment, it's like the microphones, the interfaces, the laptops, the computer. Like there's so many little things. And most of audiobook readers or voice actors also have to be editors. So now I have to learn how to record myself, but then also edit it and then be able to send that out to the world.
I have a friend that does do voice acting. She's amazing. And I know that she doesn't do editing. And so maybe think about that.
Yeah.
Also, I know that for like 200 bucks, 300 bucks, you can get the microphone and the interface. I don't know what your computer setup is, but like as for the microphone and the interface, that's not that expensive of a buy-in.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I had like a list from one of the courses that I took. They gave me a list of the things that you would need, and they give you the high end, the mid grade, and the entry level. And you're
Yeah.
right. Like there's definitely things that I can get um
Because my
within my
Shure mic
budget.
was like one something, I think.
Hmm.
And this is like one of the better ones, or like at least a mid-grade one. And then I have the Focusrite interface for this, which
Yeah.
is I forget by what. But yeah, because I have recorded like meditations and stuff before where I like talk into, so they were like, you need a good mic for this. You can't just use a regular mic. And I was like, okay. So I remember thinking that this was not that crazy of a buy-in. I think
Yeah.
maybe so.
Okay. I will, I'm part of it is probably just the fear. So I'm creating obstacles because I'm scared to do it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's what I want. I just need to get myself, out of the
Yeah.
fear part and into the living in its part.
Well, I mean, what I've known of you, you've always been very good at transcending and pushing yourself past that stuff. But that's also ultimately it's nervous system capacity, right?
Hmm.
Because it's like, are you able? Because I do this on the retreat that we're working on together. I'm going to be doing a talk on nervous system regulation, and one of the things I cover is fear and desire, and how
Mm.
They are frequently looked at as opposites. How desire is looked at as like the thing that your body's excited for, and fear is the thing preventing you from doing it. When really in in like the neurology of it and the body, how that actually what that's actually saying is like, hey, this is something I'm excited for, and fear is going, but is it safe to do that thing? And
Mm.
so your body isn't necessarily, or the fear isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a bad thing when it's in charge and out of control and stuff like that. But really, they're two emotions pointing at the same exact moment. So if you can sit with something long enough so that your body sees that it's safe, or you can expose yourself to something long enough so that your body sees that it's safe, that's when nervous system adjustment happens, and that's when it becomes easier to hold certain things in your physical body.
Hmm. Yeah, and I guess that's the way it's been with other things that I've wanted. I was also scared of doing them. But after I did them, I realized, well, why were you so scared? And then I started to feel, after the exposure and experience, you start to feel safe. You're like, oh, I can do that.
Hmm.
I'm okay. I can do that, and I can do more of that.
And I mean, you've definitely been on stage before, which I think that like audiobooks and like being voice acting is so much less high impact than that.
It could be. I still
Because
need someone to say yes, you know?
well,
Um,
yes, I'm giving you permission.
well, thank you.
Yeah. Um, just because I'm like I would imagine like you were in that play, right? Like you were in Love, Valor, Compassion at one point, or what was the thing that you had the like the moo for and the big hat? You sent me a picture of you in it.
um, the big hat. Okay, so
It was
that
like a
was actually,
caftan moment.
yes, I remember. I remember. I'm just laughing because it's still upstairs. I'm packing it. I'm taking it with me for the holiday, and I'm
Yes.
giving it to my mom.
I love that.
um, that was actually for my acting class. It was part of one of my presentations that I had to do to, graduate to the next level. So
Yeah.
that was done at home on Zoom. But yes, it was a performance where people were watching and they offered their feedback afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the other way people aren't even seeing you. It's just your voice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll
I
get
just
there.
I
I'll get
believe in
there.
you tremendously. That's what it comes down to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we've generally these conversations last about an hour, so we're hitting an hour now. So would you leave us with some wise words, please?
Ooh, some wise words. Oh my gosh. Let me ask ChatGPT. No, I'm kidding. Wise words. Okay, so I'm just going to fall back on one of my common themes, which is develop the life that you have inside until it's so big and so detailed and so strong and so vibrant that it has no choice but to pour outside and it becomes your reality.
I feel that. Yeah. I think it's a great piece of advice, especially in the world today where sometimes the outside can feel unbearable.
Hmm.
So it's not saying to detach from what's happening outside of you, but it's saying to fortify your inside in such a way that you can't help but affect the world around you.
Absolutely. Or at least, at least your small portion of it, the part of the world that you have to live in.
Yeah.
Make that part of the world what you want it to be. There's so much going on right now and a lot of it is beyond our control. But don't let that hinder your happiness. You know,
Yeah.
keep going, keep pushing, keep striving, keep living, keep laughing, and just wait until the time where you can look back on this and say, thank God that's over.
Or that was wild.
Right.
That was fucking wild. Well, thank you so much. I'm gonna do you want to give any information for people who need to get in touch with you for something, for facilitation, for speaking engagements, for acting engagements, for voice acting engagements? Do you want to leave any of your information here for that?
Sure. I guess, okay, so I'll use my Okay, well, there's two places where you can find me. You can find Dylan on Twitter, and Dylan has all of his adult work, and Dylan also has started doing some facilitating, and that's Dylan Diaz 11 at twitter.com. I think it's the same on Blue Sky. Um, and then I have an Instagram for the other part of me, the part of me that wants to be an actor, the part of me that wants to do voice acting. That person, the person who does that, his name is William Miranda. That's the name that I was given when I was born. He'll be the one who does all of that stuff. And you can
We
find
love
his,
both of them.
yes, you can find his Instagram at iamwilliam.miranda. So yeah, that's where. And if you find Dylan, but you want to know William, find Dylan. He's easier to find, and I'll introduce you to William.
I'm happy to know them both. I think they're both wonderful.
I sound like a nut job, but it's okay.
No, I totally get it. Okay, say bye to everyone, and then you'll also give me your links, and I'll put them downstairs, and then we'll chat off camera for a bit.
All right, sounds good. Bye, everybody. Thank
Bye.
you. This was fun. Thank you.